Yo, what's up? We out here. It's Corey in these streets, these seminary streets, man. We out here for real, for real. Out here for real with these flies and stuff too. But anyways, wanted to take this video here because, man, class has been pretty awesome. This is Doctoral Vlog Day 412, something like that. And the things that we get in class, especially within this intercultural studies program, this mission mindset program, it's so practical, and that's what I really appreciate about it. But yesterday, I actually had a moment where I got caught off guard. It's like you show up to class wanting to learn, like, yeah, I'll apply these things in the future, but then you realize that some of the things are literally applying to you in the moment, and it kind of catches you off guard a little bit. So yesterday we come into class, my professor's like, all right, prayer, we'll start it up. Anyone have any prayer requests? And I had just been talking with my dad and my brother last night or a couple nights ago about how my mom is going on like 18, 19 days being in the hospital now. It's crazy how it feels like just yesterday we were thankful that we got the court to step in and to get her to the hospital, but it's such a long process, and it's frustrating because she's not getting the help that she needs in this facility, and they can't really do anything, so they got to transfer her, but the transfer's taking more days than it should. So, and that still hasn't happened yet as of the recording of this video. So I had that on my mind, and everyone's given their prayer requests that I thought about. Let me ask the class to pray for my mom. And I didn't. I was thinking about her. I was thinking about throwing that request out there, but I didn't ask the class to join in and pray. And it's crazy because the rest of that class was almost like a rebuke of the fact that I didn't do that. And I gotta appreciate, accept, and grow from these learning opportunities. But there's a few things from the class that really stood out to me and really spoke to me in a way outside of just let me get this degree kind of a thing. So I got my notes here, and the first one was we were talking about the mission of Christ, right? And my professor called it the Nazareth Manifesto. And I think I'd heard him talk a little bit about this last year in my first summer of classes, but he broke it down a lot differently and more comprehensively, and maybe I noticed it a little bit more because of what I'm actually going through in my experience right now. But it's found in Luke 4:16 through 21. And I'm not going to give you the whole thing, but it's basically, in a nutshell, it's where Jesus goes into the synagogue and they ask him to read. He stands up to read. He opens the book and he says something like, I'm here to set the captives free, to minister to the poor, to make the blind free, to help the oppressed, all of that. He closes the book, he sits down, and it's a wrap. And then we went on a journey through all of Luke and Acts to see just how many times the language of oppression, light, the blind, seeing, all these things were used. There were like 30 or more different references throughout it. It was crazy. But then we broke it down and started defining, well, who are the poor? Who are the oppressed? Who are the blind? We're talking about people not only with physical ailments, but spiritual ailments as well. And when I thought about it, I was like, man, you talk about somebody who's oppressed, man. My mom fits that bill 1,000,000,000%. And it's like this struggle. My family to an extent, but we're not going through it as nearly as hard as she is, for sure. But because the situation makes it hard to want to show up sometimes. Full disclosure, I'm just being honest out here. It makes it hard to show up sometimes because you don't really feel like you can do anything. But as we were sitting in the class and realizing, just listening to the different verses and the breakdown and some of my classmates giving some input, I realized it's not always about showing up to do something and solving a problem. Sometimes it's just showing up and just being there. There's this passage that Jesus talks about a little bit later in the story in the Gospels. It's in Matthew 25:34-46. And it's within the context of asking about the least of these. And he's telling this parable about people who are going into heaven and people who are not, the sheep and the goats. And he tells the people, like, I was hungry, I was naked, I was thirsty, I was in prison, and you came to visit me. And the righteous people are like, when did we see you poor, naked, hungry, thirsty? When, like, we didn't see you. He said, when you did it to the least of these, you did it to me. It's crazy, because even the righteous didn't know. They weren't doing it to be saved. They were just doing it because that's who they were. It's pretty powerful. And then you have the flip side where Jesus tells the people who are going to be lost, when I was poor, naked, hungry, thirsty, in prison, you didn't come visit me. You didn't help me. And their response is, we didn't see you out here like that. And he says the same thing. All that you did not do to the least of these, you did it to me. And so it's an irony, because the wicked people put on this front like they would have, if they knew it was Jesus, well, then of course I would have shown up and done something. But by their character and by the fact that they neglected the least of these, they proved what they really would do, and that's why they're on the side that they're on, not the right side. But I'm sitting here listening to this breakdown, and all I can think about is my mom, and how, all of us to a degree are the least of these, but I think my mom, in the situation that she's in specifically right now, really fits into the category of the least of these. And I had to ask myself, like, when I look at how I relate to my mom and how I view the situation and try to navigate this thing, am I someone who's showing up for the poor, the thirsty, the oppressed, those in prison, the naked, the hungry? Am I doing that to the least of these within my own family? Or am I on the other side and trying to distance myself, or trying to step away because I don't feel like I can bring anything of value? And so it was a good shift in my mentality. I don't really know what to do, because right now, she's been calling a lot from the hospital, and it's kind of hard to listen because the conversations are not pleasant and very one-sided. But maybe it's not about having a conversation. Maybe it's about just being there to listen and just being there. And that's an adjustment in my mind, because right now, I'll tell you, I don't feel like that helps anything at all. But maybe it does in a way that I can't even comprehend. But I do appreciate the reframing and how practical this stuff really is. And yeah, I have to step up and try to be better at just showing up, not because I feel like I have a solution or because I'm going to fix the problem or anything like that, but just for the sake of showing up. And I would encourage you all as well, like, there's a lot of things that go on in our lives that we wish we could fix, a lot of things that we just wish we could do something about. And in a lot of situations in our lives, we don't want to do anything, and we don't want to move in that direction unless we have a clear plan of how we're going to solve the problem. Well, guess what? We're not going to be able to solve every problem. But at the same time, maybe showing up does more than you think. And I'm believing that it does that for me. I think that's the perspective that I need to take. And it's another reason why I'm glad I'm in this program. So, but yeah, we out here and change the way we think so we can change the way we impact the world. That's what it's about. We out here and we out. Peace.